Hey everyone, welcome back to our second Classes with Caitlin session. Today we are going to be starting off in our defined planner, which is going to be such a great opportunity. So I also recommend maybe grabbing a piece of paper to help with one of the questions as well. Hello, Kelly. How are you? Hello, Dorothy, Tamra. I'm just going to give us all a few moments here because before this class begins, I want to make sure we are all here who wants to be. I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Honestly, I feel like you're going to learn a lot too, and this will be up on red as well, so that's always a great opportunity. Hey, Lakin. Okay, there we go. I think that's a better height. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to adjust this real quick. Okay, perfect. I'm so excited to dive into this today. I am going to be using the blue Define Planner. This is also the one that we'll be using for all of our Plan With Me's once August officially starts. I also went ahead and I uploaded our Balancing Your Plate live. So if you missed out on that one, that is also up on red. Again, I'm just going to give us a few moments here to get ready, gather ourselves before diving in. I hope everyone's having a fabulous day today. It's Thursday, so you are one step closer to the weekend, which is a good feeling. Hello, Christy. Welcome. Okay. We're going to slowly start. And as people join us, they won't be missing too much, so that's important. I want to start by welcoming you today with what we are about to do. Today, we are going to be diving into a very powerful setup page in our Define Planner. So let's open up to the Define Yourself page. Actually, first we have to add in our name. I'm going to add in my own name right here. I love to use it. I always use a pink pen for my name. There's just something about it. Okay. Now we are ready to dive in. So the Define Myself page is right here. And this is all about building our self-awareness. It's about getting clear on your values, motivations, and your purpose. You are going to want your planner today, if you can, if you have it available, a pen, and I also recommend maybe having a notebook alongside if you need some extra space to brainstorm. Now, in our first class, we did an exercise called Balance Your Plate, and this was our result of it as well. So now that we've mapped out our plate and reflected on how you're spending your time, we now have to ask ourselves, does this reflect who I am? Does our plate reflect our values, the thing that brings you joy? Are you showing up each day with purpose or just going through the motions? So the Define Myself page is going to help you reconnect with who you are underneath the noise. So think of this as your inner blueprint, what you want to come back to when life feels out of balance. As we are going through this, I am going to be highlighting each question that we are on in the moment. So the first question is going to be my core values. This is the question that I recommend grabbing another piece of paper for. So I'm going to give you all a second just to do that, or flip to the note pages in the back of your planner. That is another great option for this. Actually, that is exactly what I'm going to do. Actually, just so you guys can I will be doing it in a notebook so you guys can see both pages at once to know which one we are on. So that'll be easier on my end, but I do recommend that is another great opportunity. So I am going to flip to an open page in my notebook, and for my core values, first I want to talk a little bit about what is a core value. And a core value is a fundamental belief or principle that guides how you live, makes decisions, and relate to others. This core value is something you hold deeply. It could be honesty, creativity, freedom, compassion. And these values shape your priorities. They influence your behavior and they reflect what matters most to you at your core. So before you are going to dive into narrowing it down to just 4 core values, I want to start this in a helpful way. And so a helpful way for this prompt is to make a master list. So I'm just going to grab a black pen and we are going to make a master list. So this is going to be I'm just going to go like this to make it a little easier. So master list of core values. And as I am going through these different prompts with you, I want you guys to all feel comfortable sharing in the comments any questions, any realizations you may have as we are going through these. You are safe here, you belong here, and I want you guys to know that we are all in this together. So I like to start off by writing a master list of core values. This is going to be where you write down any values that come to mind. This could be, I'm going to number them, but there is no specific order to this. I just want you to write down what comes to mind. It might be kindness. It could be ambition, balance, whatever is, I want you to just write what comes to mind here. Authenticity, let's see, honesty is another example. This is who you are, a summary, not a summary. This is just a whole big list of it. This is your master list. It could be connection, family. It could be hardworking, growth. It could also be compassion, freedom. You see how this is just a long list of what comes to mind when we think of our own personal core values. There is no right order here. It is just what comes to your mind right away, so you don't overlook any adjective when it comes to who you are. Selfless. Let's also write creativity. That is going to be our list right here. Okay? This is our master list of core values. But now we do want to narrow it down to 4. And the reason we want you to do this is because choosing 4 core values helps you get crystal clear on what truly matters to you right now. When everything feels important, it can be hard to focus. So when you define your top 4 values, you are creating your own compass. It's a way to check in with yourself when making decisions or setting goals. These core values help you stay aligned, intentional, and also grounded in your day-to-day life. You can always revisit your 4 core values and update them, but choosing 4 is going to force some clarity. So I want you to take a look at your master list and ask yourself, which ones are speaking the most to you? Which ones are how you truly want to live? So when I look at this list, I want you to go down each one that you have on yours, and I want you to narrow it down to 4 words that sum up your core values. This is going to get clear on what matters to you. So when I look at this list, the first one that I see, let's see, there's kindness, ambition, because you can still have these as your values, but they might not be your core values. Authenticity, that is one that truly resonates with me. So I'm going to just put a star next to authenticity. And I'm actually going to use, I was going to use a blue pen for this. So a blue pen I'll do the pink as the stars just so it's consistent, but I'm going to write them in the pink, in the blue after. There's no reason. I just like to add a little color because I like color. It makes life a little more fun. And the reason I choose authenticity is because one of my goals in life is to always show up as my real self, Not who I think I should be, not who others tell me to be, but as who I am, because that is what I want for each and every one of you. So I have to live my life the same way as I want others to live. The next one I'm going down this list is family. I want to make space for my family, for that love, and for that joy. That is what matters most to me. Next, when I look at this list, I actually think it would be growth coming next because I always want to keep evolving, even when it's uncomfortable. And for me, growth also goes hand in hand with hardworking. So it's a nice word to be able to incorporate as my core value while also having some sub values within that word. The fourth core value I'm going to highlight is compassion. I'm just someone who cares deeply about how I treat other people. And something that we are all trying to work on is also how we treat ourselves. And so to our core values list, I want you to add in those 4 that you just highlighted. And I'm not going to have a particular order because each of these are going to just sum up our core values and who we are at our core. So authenticity is going to go first. Authenticity. What is everyone's core values? Or even if you just want to share one in the comments, go ahead and let me know. So we have narrowed ours down to authenticity, family, as we're going on this list, I see growth. That was our next highlight. And compassion. Lakin, family, growth, kindness, creativity. That's an incredible list right there. That is a beautiful list. Thank you for sharing that. That's quite similar, actually. And that's amazing. I want to make sure everyone has enough time to fill out their own core values alongside us before we dive into the next prompt. Okay. I think I like to mix up my colors. So for the highlights, we are going to the next one's going to be purple. No real reason other than I just really like pink, purple, and blue. I think for this page, I'm going to do just blue and purple. So I'm going to take out this pink so I don't accidentally grab it. Okay. The next prompt on the page is the quote that inspires me. When it comes to the quote that inspires you, the reason it is so important to identify this is that a good quote can become your anchor. It can be something that you return to when you're feeling uncertain. It could be a line from a book. It could be something that someone once shared with you. It could be a song lyric. I want you to ask yourself when you are answering this question, what words do you want to live by this season? For example, one might be that you want to align yourself with the quote of, you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. This is so personal to you and it can come from anywhere as long as it feels like you have this authentic connection. I also changed my mind. I wanted to grab a pink, so sorry. I just wanted to grab that pink real quick. Okay. I would also love it. I love quotes. This is always one of my favorite questions to answer. So let me know yours in the comments. The one that I'm going to write here is something that I always tell myself when I'm having any negative self-talk come up, and it is, your thoughts are seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. And not only do I love a rhyme, because yes, it does rhyme, but it also feels so much more than that. Or you can grow weeds. The reason that I personally have this as my quote to live by and that inspires me is because something that is really hard for, I think, a lot of us is the way we speak to ourselves. It's our thoughts and our thought processes. And it's easy to forget how important it is to speak to yourself. And I remember on here the other day, one thing I shared with you all is that another quote or saying that I live by is the words you speak become the home in which you live. And I wanted a quote for the purpose of this that helped go alongside that. But this also takes it one step further and reminds you that whether you feel, it aligns with that idea of whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And whether you think that you are able to grow flowers or you're growing weeds is up to you. And this is the quote that inspires me to shift my thoughts and believe in myself a little bit more every day. That is my quote that inspires me. Okay. I want to make sure I'm always giving you guys enough time to answer these questions, to have the opportunity to share with me. So I like to wait an extra minute after I go over each prompt. So again, moving on now to what motivates me. Okay, Kelly, yes, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. That is an amazing quote to live by or to inspire you. That goes with the idea of you have to just start. You have to work with what you're given, and all you can do is what you can. I love that saying. What's nice too is that when you have a quote like that, it's also it's a nice affirmation in a way, and you can really repeat it to yourself. And Dorothy says Matthew 7:7. Now, when I just went ahead and I looked that up, and it says, if you don't mind me sharing, it says, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. That is a beautiful verse right there. Thank you so much for sharing that, you guys. I love those. And I want you guys to also take with you anything that resonates with you as well. So write down in your journal a quote or that verse that was just shared. The next one I'm going to ask you once again I'm going to go over this next question in our notebook because this is a little complicated of a question and I really want to break it down. So what motivates me? Now, when it comes to motivation, there's actually two types. And this is just a helpful way to go about this question because for me, I'm someone who really needs to know what each word means and I need to know its full meaning and why it's there in order to connect with it. And I was like, that's a really important distinction when it comes to motivation for everyone. So with motivation, there's two types. This is, in general, this question is where you are going to also explain your why. And so this is what fuels you. So motivation in general is what fuels you. It's what keeps you going when things are hard. It can come from two types. There's internal factors and there's external factors. And the reason I want everyone to understand the difference is because this is going to help us all tap into what really drives us. And so the first type of motivation is intrinsic. Intrinsic motivation is the motivation that comes from within. Okay, so intrinsic is, think of it, internal. It's fueled by personal values. It's also fueled by passions, purpose, but also that internal satisfaction that you get from doing something meaningful. So, for example, doing a project because you love the challenge. I want you guys, if there's ever any questions on the differences or what's going to help you, just let me know. Again, I want to make sure this is an interactive session. You guys are amazing. And I just wanted to remind everyone of that. I love when you share your answers too. That really motivates me too. So it can be doing a project because you love the challenge. That is internal. It is your love that's driving it. It could also be learning a new skill just because it excites you. Or pursuing growth or self-improvement. This is going to be a key component to your motivation, this intrinsic one right here, because internal motivation tends to be more lasting and fulfilling. The reason is because it really aligns with who you are. It is your internal components that fuel this. So think long term. Okay? That is intrinsic motivation. Now, when it comes to the second type, it is external. So this comes from outside of yourself. It's rewards, recognitions. It can also be pressure or expectation for others. That is a key component there that I just want to also make sure we identify, because some of us can be driven by fear. I think it comes from part of it being we grow up as students who have to do well on tests. We have deadlines and we almost are afraid to not do that. And that becomes an external motivator. It's almost that fear component. So rewards, recognition. And I thought once I learned that difference, it really changed the way I went about my life, because I stopped to my best ability, I stopped making decisions out of fear and started finding decisions out of love and out of true joy. And it's always easier said than done. But once you recognize that, I want you to start thinking about how that connects to you on your own personal journey. So an example of this would be working hard to get a raise or a promotion. Now you might think, oh, well, I'm doing that for myself. That is an internal motivator. But the reason it's actually an external is because you are not working hard because you find your job meaningful. You are maybe working hard for an outcome that comes from someone else. Because this promotion, this raise, is actually an external motivator that is a reward and recognition for what you're doing, what you're doing. It could also be that studying for good grades to get approval. And another interesting one is that it could also be exercising, not because you love it, but to look a certain way for social standards. So because you want others to approve of how you look. This is actually less helpful. Okay. It is great in certain parts because we do need to make sure that we are getting deadlines done, like things like that. However, it's more powerful in the short term, but it can fade and help and make you feel less connected to your deeper self. So I just wanted to add this in as a note as well. I have to write things down. It's how I remember things, and clearly it is just a way that I can help explain things to you guys. So that is also why I write this down as we are going through this. So this is going to be powerful in the short term, but tends to fade or feel less connected to your deeper self. Okay. So you might be wondering, okay, then what are the strongest motivators? Well, the strongest motivation is actually something that blends internal and external. So for example, you actually might love your work. That is internal. But you also appreciate the praise you get. That is external. So it's not working for a promotion because you want the money. It is doing something that you love, and you also enjoy the praise of knowing that you are doing a good thing. So for what motivates me, here we are going to write that I am motivated by the belief what I also love too is through these planners every year, you get to look back at how you answered this question last year and see if it changed. So I am motivated by the belief that I can create a life that feels like mine. A life filled with love and purpose. I'm also fueled by my desire, so again, internal, to show myself and a little bit of external with others. So to show myself and others that I can achieve whatever I set my mind to. And this, I want you to think of this as your why. So when you are answering this, ask yourself what moves you to take action, even when it's uncomfortable. That is how you are going to identify what truly motivates you. Okay. Now, let's talk about words and phrases I live by. This, again, you can pull out your notebook for. So we're going to pull out our notebook, and I want you to make a list. I'm going to just divide it. These are going to be words and phrases that you resonate with or I love. Because what this is going to allow you to do is then narrow it down to the ones that really sum up how you live. So let's use, we don't need to number this one. You can if you want to, it doesn't really matter. But let's go purpose is always a word. Another one is, what am I on right now? Oh, me. I was, sorry about that. It also could be trust the process. That's a huge one. Oh, I have a bookmark on here. That's why. I was like, what am I hitting? I was looking for that. Trust the process. Another thing that might help is coming up with your mantras. So when it comes to identifying your words and phrases that you live by, these are going to be your reminders. Having this set of meaningful words or phrases to live by it's like carrying a personal compass in your pocket. They're ideas, they're reminders, and they help you to stay focused and grounded, but they also provide comfort and guide your choices. So ask yourself, what words or phrases align with your values that you identified in prompt 1? And you can create a master list. You don't have to, it's up to you. So let me know what you are adding to your list. It would also I would say, another one I tell myself is to protect my peace. Choose kindness, especially for yourself. I love that. I'm going to add that. Live with intention. Amazing. That's kind of like what I was about to write. I like day one or one day. Ooh, that's a good one. Choose kindness. Especially for yourself. These are amazing. And one more I'm going to add is rest, don't quit. And also, done is better than perfect. Okay, so then I want you to go through and I want you to see which ones align with the core values that you identified and which ones really, truly speak to you. Okay, so in this list, when we look at it, now going back to, again, that master list, but narrowing it down to those 4 core values, I have authenticity, family, growth, and compassion. One I noticed here that really speaks to me with compassion, but also peace. And just that in general, one that I always tell myself is to trust the process. As well as, you guys hear me probably say this on live a lot. It's the phrasing of be bold, be brave, be fearless. I live by that one. It's something I really, truly try to internalize. Another one for me that I kind of developed recently as one that inspires me to keep going is the live intentionally, love unconditionally. And then for a 4th one, oh, I like these all. This is tough. Okay. Whew. I really like the one you both said. I feel like the first intentional one that you said, Lakin, kind of connected really well with the live intentionally. I love the kindness one. I also like day 1 or one day. This is tricky. The one that is kind of coming to me with all of these is done is better than perfect. Those are probably the 4 that truly align the most with what I am working on and how I want to live. So those are the 4 I'm going to transfer over to the words and phrases I live by ones. Some might be, this too shall pass. There's no right or wrong answer here. I need you all to know that. And the reason I also like this quote is say done is better than perfect in quilting. Exactly. Wait, that's amazing. And the thing I like about the word fearless too is that it's not this idea of I can't be afraid of anything. That is not at all what I'm saying here. It is that I might be afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. As long as it's a safe thing. I'm not saying like jumping off a bridge, like that I'm not going to do. That doesn't need to be fearless in this case. But maybe you're afraid to learn a new skill or change your career. I want you to be fearless. I want you to pursue your passion even when you're afraid. That's what I always remember. Live intentionally. I want to make sure I spell this right. Live intentionally. Love unconditionally. We always have so many unfinished projects. That makes sense, Belle, honestly. As long as you finish it. Finish what we started most of the time. And then the last one we're going to do is done is better than perfect. Because there's no such thing as perfection. Okay? The next one that we are going to do is activities, hobbies, and passions that bring joy and fulfillment. I wish I left a little more space on this page, but there's always a but, isn't there? No, I'm not seeing your messages, Sonia. Oh no. Wait, that's so sad. I'm so sorry. I would never ignore you. When it comes to this next question, these are the experiences, they are the actions, and they are what connect you to your true self. They are the parts of life that light you up. They recharge your energy and they make you feel alive. Once you identify these clearly, you are able to create a blueprint for joyful and a meaningful life that balances responsibility with fulfillment. And I want to talk a little bit about the why behind this question, because this is so much more than just what do you love to do. This is what is it that truly brings you joy and fulfillment. The why behind this question is so much deeper. It is the fact that joy is your compass. I'm just going to flip over. Let's just flip over to this page right here. It's helpful to write it out as we go. So, the activities, hobbies, passions. This is going to be the fact that joy is your compass. It is a compass. The activities that bring you joy are signals from your soul. They are pointing toward what nourishes you emotionally and mentally. These are often what reflect your core values and that passion. The next is going to be that this filling your life with fulfillment is going to help build your resilience. So when you regularly engage in what you love, your energy reserves are going to be replenished. And it's going to make it easier for you to handle stress or challenges. So I want you to think about that for a second. Do you ever feel like maybe sometimes you are having a really hard time with all these stresses and the challenges that come up in your life? And when you are thinking about this, take a step back and think, oh, well, if I had something else in my life that I could maybe incorporate more often that brings me joy, I might feel more inclined or prepared to handle these situations. That's an interesting thought right there. The next thing is that this question is important is because these are also clues to your purpose. Sometimes. Because sometimes your hobbies or your passions will hint at a deeper calling, or talents could evolve into meaningful goals or even career. That is why this is such an important question for you all. It is so much deeper than what is it that you like to do for fun. The other reason that I wanted to mention for the why behind this is connection and flow. So passion is going to put you in a state of flow, which is where time dissolves and you feel fully present. This state right here is what is key to mental well-being and creativity. And that is why it is so important to have this list. So some examples of this could be, let's go ahead and add ours in here. I'm going to use the purple color. It could be journaling or creative writing. It could be drawing. It could also be DIY projects or crafting. It could also be reading. It might be swimming. It might be, no, you're the best, Stanley. It could be volunteering. That is the perfect example right there. It could be baking or cooking. It could also be researching topics that you're actually really curious about. So I'm going to put in research. And this right here is going to help provide a little more insight into who you are at your core. What is it you love to do? Maybe it's meeting new people. That makes you feel fulfilled and alive. Running, crocheting, and creative writing are yours, Lakin. Those are amazing. Those are 3 perfect examples of how this can reveal deeper insight into you, into how you are going to feel more fulfilled and like you are moving towards your purpose once it all comes together in the end. Thank you guys for sharing your answers as well. I always appreciate that. The last question on here is, do I effectively navigate each day with purpose? How or why not? Now here to define our motto, our goal for each and every one of you, and the reason we create what we do is to help you navigate each day with purpose. But what is purpose? Purpose is the why behind your actions. You know what? We're going to grab that notebook once again to visualize this because it is such an important concept to understand and make sure that we fully invest ourselves in. So let's write big here, purpose. Okay? Your purpose is the why behind your actions. This purpose right here is what fuels intentional living. You might hear that word like intentional living a lot, right? But what does it really mean? It means going about your days feeling fulfilled and satisfied, knowing that you are truly on the path that is meant for you. This purpose right here, it turns routine into ritual and chaos into clarity. This prompt is going to help you evaluate whether your daily actions are aligned with your deeper values and your goals, or if you're moving through the day on autopilot. This prompt right here is going to give you a chance to check in. Are your daily habits, actions, routines aligned with your deeper values and your ultimate why? Without knowing this answer, days can feel meaningless. They can feel fragmented. And the problem with this is that it leads to burnout and it leads to frustration and that sense of loss. Like you feel lost in what you're doing and you don't know why you keep doing what it is that is happening every day. When you have this purpose and this answer, even those smaller tasks are going to start connecting to a bigger picture. So ultimately, knowing the answer to this question is going to help alignment because alignment creates energy, right? So when your daily activities reflect your purpose, you are going to feel more motivated, fulfilled, and also confident. But I also want you to know that purpose is going to ebb and flow because life is life, right? There's always life circumstances, there's different stressors, and there's also that uncertainty sometimes, and that is what is going to cloud your sense of direction. So I want you to know that this answer right here, it's not about judgment. It's actually just about honesty. It's an honest reflection. So don't judge yourself when you're answering this. I want you to know that it's okay that maybe some days you feel a little more aligned. Maybe this past year has been really challenging in terms of a health obstacle, and you feel like you have been less effectively navigating your days with purpose, but you have been really focusing on your health. That's okay. That is your purpose at that moment. That is what you have to do. So some things that I want you to think about when you are exploring this question is you could use a number scale for a daily look. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how purposeful do you feel each day? Also ask yourself if you are adding in any activities, hobbies, or passions that align with your purpose, that bring joy and fulfillment. Maybe you ask yourself when it is that you do feel most aligned or in that flow that we were talking about during your day. Are there distractions or habits pulling you away from your purpose? Anything getting in the way? And I want you to think about what is one small change that you can make to live with more intention. So let's talk about how your answer might look specifically. So your answer might be that, yes, I've done a year of the Define Planner already. I've really focused on this question a lot and I've made some changes. So I do feel like I do. On the extreme other hand, you might not have thought too much about your purpose before now. That's okay. Don't judge yourself. Let's just do some honest reflection. Your answer might be no. I don't feel like I'm living with purpose every day. I feel like I'm just going through the motions. I'm a little on autopilot. I lost my why. But it could also be a mixture of both. There could be that in-between answer. And so your answer might look like some days, yes. Beautiful Lotus said, that's me. I'm on autopilot. Okay, well, first, I'm proud of you for recognizing that and for sharing that because that's not easy. That is a hard realization right there because once you realize that, it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with that. So I want you to dive a little deeper into that and maybe start small and see, okay, what is one change that I could do tomorrow that helps me feel a little less autopilot-y? Is it in your routine that you feel like you're on autopilot? Is it your work? What area of your life are you specifically feeling like you're going through the motions? Maybe you start by changing your morning routine. Oh, okay, routine and work. Yes. Here comes the hardest part of it all, is recognizing realistic change, right? Because there is certain parts of our routine that we might not be able to shift. Sure, maybe when we're waking up, if I don't know if you have kids or if you don't, but sometimes if you have to do all that cooking every dinner every night, that might not feel like it's the most aligned with your purpose, but also it could on one hand, because your kids could be your purpose. But let's just say for an example here, it's not. Okay. Well, that might be something that maybe we have to change our attitude with, or maybe it's how we go about it. Maybe it's that meal planning to help us feel like, okay, it's one less thing that has to be that negative routine, because it has to be that decision every day. Maybe at work, you feel like you're not speaking up enough. You're not taking on the challenges to level up, if that makes sense. So for instance, it is so easy sometimes to just sit back and let others make the decisions, make those hard choices. What if you didn't? What if you decided that tomorrow, when you are in that meeting, or whenever you have a next deadline coming up, instead of sitting back and being told what to do, you made an input, you made an impact? Maybe your routine, I felt this a while ago. Like I was waking up and I was kind of just going through the motions. I would eat breakfast, I would drink my coffee, I would maybe read a little bit, but honestly, I would end up just scrolling on my phone until I had to start working. This was a while ago. But I decided that one day I was like, I don't want this anymore. I need to wake up. I need to fix that morning routine. Okay. You have to start with how. For me, it was starting to have a purpose to get up every day, aside from like the work of it all, because I did always love what I was doing, but I needed to have that boost outside of it. So I started to go for a walk every morning. And it was crazy the difference I felt. And it sounds so small, but it is that change that helps you get out of bed every morning. And for me, it was also the fact that I was making a conscious decision and had something to stick to. I don't want to ramble too much, but it's really important to start to effectively make those changes, that sometimes you have to start on the smaller scale, because that smaller scale isn't so small after all. And so maybe for you, it's when you plan your mornings. I meant to write when but I said you because I was talking to you guys. So it would say when I plan my mornings. I'm just going to cross that off and write I. And check in with my goals. I feel really purposeful. Intentional and purposeful. But some days, I'm sure we all have felt like this at one point, maybe it's now, I get stuck in autopilot. And feel like I'm just checking boxes. That's a huge feeling that can hold you back. Maybe you also, in this question, you answer a little bit, one sentence on what you need to do differently. So maybe you actually, if you notice that you find yourself feeling more connected and aligned with a higher version of you when you do check in with yourself in the morning, when you start your day a little differently, maybe you write that I think I need to have more intention in the morning when and how I start my day. or I think I need more intention in how I start my day. And that right there is a walkthrough of how you can go about your Define Yourself page in your Define Planner. So just to connect this back to that plate exercise that we did yesterday, this is the plate exercise that I had you all start off with, that balancing your plate, right? So this shows you the external picture. Whereas the Define Myself page, this reveals your internal truth. When your internal and your external are aligned, that is when you feel most clear, most confident, and most connected to your purpose. So everything that we filled out today on the Define Yourself page is more than just answers on paper. It is a mirror of your values, your energy, and the life you want to create. These are not just words on a page. These are reminders. They're anchors. These are the foundations that you can return to anytime you feel unsteady or unsure. And I want you to remember that the goal here, it's never perfection. It's awareness. It's progress. And when you begin planning with self-awareness, every goal and routine and decision that follows becomes more intentional, more purposeful, and aligned. So whether you revisit this page weekly, monthly, or when life feels a little off center, let this be your touchstone. It is a way to come back to yourself. I want to thank you all and thank yourselves too for spending this past hour with me. You showed up for yourself today. That matters. I am so proud of you, and I also can't wait to see how you continue to define yourself and what you want. Next Tuesday, we are going to be setting up the Define Your Year page. That is an event that is made already, so make sure that you register so you get notified when we go live. I will upload this to Red as well, and thank you guys so much for being on with me today. And until tonight, I want to make sure that you guys keep creating a life that feels like yours. You are not alone. You belong here, and we are all in this journey together to navigate each day with purpose. So until later, you guys, I will talk to you all soon. Red is the other video streaming platform. It is YT. Yes, thank you, Bethany, so much. Absolutely. I'm Jalen. Thank you. And when do you think you will have it uploaded? I joined late. Welcome. I'm going to I will download this right when I hop off. So in the next half hour, it should be up on there for you. Very quick about these things. I never want anyone to not have the opportunity to define themselves. Absolutely. I will talk to you guys all later tonight. Bye, everyone.